Welcome.
Welcome to the Hot Mess Mountain Mama episode 34.
39.
39.
Okay, we already recorded this one.
Take 2.
With no sound.
With no sound. So, we're on a roll.
We're
As you can see, we are really living up to our Hot Mess Mountain
We
Mama.
are. Look at our hats.
And we have new merch.
Woo!
So fun.
Yes, and where can we find these?
Let's see. We can find them at the website. Hot Mess Mountain Mamas. Hot Mess Mountain Mama. Wow. Take 2 is not going well. Hot Mess Mountain Mama .square.site. Or
Awesome.
at the Wednesday Market, where you also can find bagels,
eggs.
I'm like, what can we find there?
No, treats.
Little treats. Sculptures, art, stickers,
hot oil,
beard oil. Or that could also be used in your hair.
It's true. In your you can't see my hair.
My books, coloring devotional books.
Yes.
Take 2.
Take 2 is awesome.
It's awesome. It's starting out with a bang.
It's strong. Because we spent, I'm telling you guys, we spent like 12 to 13 minutes talking and then silently about the decision to homeschool or not.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't very good content anyway.
I guess not. You know what we forgot to do? We didn't pray.
We still didn't pray.
Because we were like, the problem is we didn't pray. And then we just ended and didn't pray again. Okay, Lord. Thank you that you always hear us, even when we're a hot mess, and especially when we're a hot mess. Cover our conversation today and help it to be a blessing to others. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
We did it. We did it.
Yes.
Check the box.
Okay.
We are now holy, which means the rest of it is going to go smoothly.
Exactly. Or it could be the most entertaining episode you have ever seen.
Oh, one of the 2. One of the 2.
Just watch out for lightning.
If you resonate with being a hot mess and you love the mountains, these hats are for you.
Yes.
And this show. So
yes.
So now
give us like 15 minutes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We recorded a whole episode silently. So give us like 30 minutes. 20. Yeah. What did I
drink my coffee?
And then I will be in and we can have a snack. Okay? Okay, you can tell me later.
Coffee break built in. So
when your friend's kid.
Yeah. I've mostly been up since 2:30 this morning. So we're rocking and rolling.
Yeah. So homeschooling.
Yeah.
How do you decide how to homeschool?
Do you decide? And then what do you do once you decide if the decision is yes? Because the decision's not too hard. Like, if your choice is to go to public school, then you do what the school tells you.
Then you're a heathen.
Right? You're a heathen. then you're just turn it off now. Just turn it off. But what we did discuss the first time around is sometimes you make a different decision for each kid.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Based on their needs and their personality and what's going to be most fitting and best for them.
Yep.
And so you might be trying to decide, do I homeschool?
Yeah.
And if I homeschool, do I homeschool all of them?
I homeschooled. My sister did not. She went all the way through the public school system. So.
And this year,
I literally have nothing against those who go to public school. I just was making a joke.
Yeah. And we public schooled, and then we homeschooled for almost 2 years. And then I went back to work temporarily. And then we decided, so we put kids back in school. And this year we're homeschooling again, but probably not all of them. So we have 4, and 2 are going to be homeschooled. It sounds like.
Sounds like because her children decided.
Because my kids decided.
You have to tell them the story about what Charlie did.
So Sadie, we decided to homeschool. We kind of already made that decision. She really wanted to come back to homeschool. And there was a lot of things I talked about the first time around. I'm sorry. But
yeah, you don't get it this time.
But, you know, there was a lot of things that kind of, she has been wanting to homeschool and been petitioning to homeschool. My allergies. My allergies come and go. I'll be like talking fine. And then
consistently they come whenever you start to talk. Subject.
I know. I was just talking about homeschool, apparently. Yeah. As soon as I start talking about homeschool, I can't breathe. And then
maybe it's psychological.
Okay.
Don't touch me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Allergies. This cottonwood is killing me. Let me just say that.
Yep.
There's enough of it to equal like snow on the ground.
Yeah.
White.
True.
Oh my gosh. Like, but anyway, yeah. So Sadie has wanted to, she's been kind of petitioning to homeschool, and we finally were like, okay. We had some conversations kind of about why she wanted to homeschool and decided for her that's a good choice. So then Charlie was like, well, I might want to homeschool if you're going to do homeschool, if that's an option on the table. But he also does really well in school. There's been he had a really amazing teacher the last 2 years. Mr. Horn has been fantastic. And, you know, he's had a great school experience. And so he, you know, he was kind of like, well, you know, I might see he's moving into junior high. So he was like, I don't know if I want to see what junior high is about or not. So he's kind of been on the fence, and I was like, listen, like, we're going to do homeschool. I'm happy either way. We can incorporate you also, or if you want to be in public school, you can be in public school. Like,
yeah.
So he very systematically, so finally the other night, he was like, he made a list very systematically of like the pros and cons of homeschool and the pros and cons of going to public school. He assigned a value system to these symbols that he then assigned to his pros and cons based on the level of importance that particular point was to him. So, you know, of course, some things have more value to us.
True.
And so if it had more value to him, he gave it a higher point system. So, or point based on the system. So he was like, okay.
Can we say future engineer?
Yeah, seriously. He's his little brain. His little brain is always going.
I would have just been like, I don't care, Mom, you just decide for me.
Yeah. When I had trouble deciding things, I would do like a pros and cons list.
Yeah.
But I did not, it was not so systematic with like the point system. It was just.
And then adding it all up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a personality test.
Yeah.
For homeschooling or not.
Yeah, for homeschooling or not. Yeah, so he did that, and then he said, Mom, can we talk about the decision I've come to? He was very serious. And I was like, okay. And at first I was like, what decision is that? Because he was like in his room, like doing it, like write it down. And then he was like, let's talk about this. Oh man. Okay. So based on his point system, he's made the decision to homeschool. And I was like, sweet, that's awesome. And then I left and I was like, what am I going to do with this?
I know. That's what I looked at, Jackie, and I was like, how do you homeschool that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
you could just hand him the curriculum and be like, okay, buddy.
He is very,
here you go.
He is very self-motivated and driven. So I think that with the right curriculum, he can kind of go at his own pace.
He'll like graduate next year. Yeah. He'll be done and off to college.
Yeah. Yeah, which is really funny because when we've done self-paced things with him before, though, sometimes he'll like calculate out like how much he has to do in what amount of time in order to be able to enjoy some free time and also still stay on track. So he wouldn't necessarily finish ahead because then he would work in time for things that he wants to do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's fine too, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, to go do his coding. He tried to do a coding class that someone offered in town, and they were like, he already knows everything I was going to teach. He needs a higher level coding class.
That is part of curriculum now, though. Yeah. For public and for homeschool. Yeah,
which is awesome.
They're teaching kids how to code.
Which is really cool.
Which initially I was like, really? That seems kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But then as I started thinking about it, I was like, but that is more of the society that we're living in now.
Well, if you think about even
we do everything on the computer. We do everything online.
And if you're a mompreneur.
That's right. This is our new word we're going to talk about next week.
Yeah. I just sucked in a bug, by the way. That's why I was like
protein. just savor it. Have some coffee.
Fine. Yeah.
I already drank mine. It's gone.
Well, do you see the size of my cup, though? It's bigger than my head.
I did give you the quart jar for your coffee.
Yeah.
It was mainly ice, guys.
Was it, though?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't even know. I just lost what we were talking about.
We were talking about Charlie.
And Charlie.
Yeah, and Charlie.
Yeah. So, if you...
Do you want us to say your kids' names? All of a sudden I was like, oh, shoot.
I think I've said them.
Okay, well.
It's too late now. If you come for me.
Don't worry, we're packing.
Yeah,
and if you know what that means.
First, ask questions later.
That's right. So
there's that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on.
Side note, as we just had our whole audience. Thanks for watching.
YouTube just banned us.
Oh
no! Next week it'll just say censored, like right on our. So yeah, well, it was nice knowing you guys. So mompreneurs, though, I mean, I just was working on a site, putting together a website, to sell the hats and the books and the things, whatever else. I mean, we're totally bootstringing it. So
that means
that's the thing.
Okay,
bootstring is that
shoestring? No, bootstrap.
I think it is bootstrap. Bootstraps. Bootstrapping it? Bootstrap. Maybe it's bootstrap.
Pull yourself up by your bootstrap.
Oh, yeah, that's that. What strings? I tie my boots.
Shoestring budget?
My boots have strings. They're like hiking boots
too, but they also have straps.
I think, bootstraps. You know what?
Oh, man.
Whatever the thing
it is.
We're doing it.
That's right. We're doing it.
But, so, I mean, like, we're just investing a very small amount, taking what we earn, reinvesting it, and kind of growing very slowly that way. So, but got the site up and going for whatever whatever it grows into.
Yep.
And that's important in this day and age, I think, you see more and more of that being done at home, like not necessarily hiring out. So I do think some of that coding and building and, oops, sorry, I kicked the sand. The coding and building and like the ability to be able to put things together like that
it's really
actually
important.
is a skill in our world today to be able to. So so it is important. But yeah, I mean, hopefully initially I was like,
this whole thing.
Okay.
So homeschooling.
Anyway, so how do you decide? How did you decide?
So mine started the same time you did too.
Yeah.
Like the whole, we were just back and forth so much with the public school and then trying to keep up with like 3 kids and all the different like online like times they were supposed to get on with their teachers, and then the things that I was basically like, I'm teaching them anyway. Mm-hmm. And that's what I went to school for, was teaching and then like more specific Christian camping. So it was one of those that I was like, I teach anyway. I've taught like my whole life. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to be teaching, I may as well just teach and teach them what I want to teach.
Yeah.
Within reason. I mean, I was all requirements. I did meet the requirements.
I taught you to do your chores.
Exactly. That's right. Get it done.
School's over.
That's right. Wash those dishes.
Yeah.
So, and then because then the following year it was an unknown. of like, well, we might have to, like, we might be at school, we might not. Then I was like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and homeschool.
Right. With the COVID, a lot of things were really upset.
Right. It was like, because it was unknown whether we were going to be at home or at the public school anyway, I was like, well, I'm just going to keep teaching. And then come to find out, I was like, I actually really like it. My kids really like it because we're done around noon or 1 o'clock every day. And it just flowed with kind of how we were doing things anyway. And we could decide, especially with the sheriff's office schedule sometimes, it was like, we were able to decide then, like, when are we going to take spring break?
Yeah.
Because it made it a little bit harder, like for vacations and stuff. It's like if we all are trying to take a vacation at the same time, well,
that doesn't work. Yeah.
Not all of the, sheriff and undersheriff can't really be out of the county at the same time.
Right.
It's not a great idea.
Well, especially in those years when we were super understaffed and
it was like just the two of us.
It was the two of us for a pretty good period of time.
Yep.
And you definitely could not both be gone.
Right. Or it was like the both of them and then like one deputy. So you couldn't be like, hey, peace out, deputy.
Yeah. Well,
hope everything stays.
Chris hired, aside from your husband, all of the staff has been hired on.
Yeah.
So since that time, I think. So Brennan came on pretty early. But for like 6 months, it was just the two of them.
Yeah.
And that was insane.
Yeah.
And that was right when COVID was happening. And
it was crazy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what led us down this road of homeschooling. And then it was like the simplest curriculum that I went with at that time was the Sunlight curriculum because they basically give you your whole package. And that's what I've done the last 3 years. I think it's been 3 years now. And I now am in a dilemma because I'm feeling like my kids need something slightly different. So that's the other cool thing about homeschooling is I feel like you can morph and change with what your specific child needs. So it was a little bit like, okay, now I'm exploring other options.
Yeah.
So,
which is it can be a little daunting, but also there's something kind of exciting about being like, we can really figure out what works. We can try something, and if it's like not quite right, we can shake it up. Or if we're like, you know what, I tried something different, and actually I did like that, you can go back to it. Like, you can kind of do an eclectic thing where you start to pull in the pieces that work for you from different things.
Because quite honestly, it's like once you've done it at least for a few years, and if you followed a program that's like all encompassing, then it is a little bit nicer to be like, okay, cool. Like I have curriculum for my younger kids too. Like you're actually saving money.
Yeah.
Because
then you're not buying those kids that are coming up can use that. Even if you shift it around a little bit, they can still use at least pieces or parts of it or whatever.
And what I'm discovering in starting to explore other curriculum, because I was like, wow, are all the bases going to be covered for like what Colorado standards require and blah, blah, blah. And what I started discovering is it's like almost every single program covers everything that you're supposed to have anyway. Yeah. It's just a matter of they're coming at it from a slightly different angle. And so then you really can be like, is this going to be better for my kids? And if this is going to be better for my kids, or say one kid, I do one language arts program and the other kids I stick with Sunlight.
Depending on kind of where they're at and what they need.
It doesn't, like with things like that, a lot of times it doesn't really matter too much because they're still learning the basic rules of language arts. They're still learning sentence structure. They're still like working on putting together paragraphs and like papers. And it's like the same thing with math. It's just a matter of what curriculum do you want to use that's going to be better for them? Like, is it going to be, do you need more hands-on? Do they do fine with the book learning? Like,
Right. So you can kind of cater to their learning style a little bit. Which is really neat. And in the elementary years, I think that also, even really through junior high, you don't really need specific things for college until you get to high school. And by then, they hopefully have an idea of whether they're going to choose college or a trade school, or they're going to
They're just going to start a business.
They're just going to start a business. Yeah, I mean, by the time you have to kind of start narrowing that in of like, okay, if we're doing college prep,
hold on, baby.
You probably have an idea.
Right.
Your kids have an idea for themselves also if college is something they're aiming for.
Right.
Yeah, and so then you can kind of readjust if needed at that point based on that. So
yeah. And by that time too, by the time you get into high school, there's even some like online schools, or like our school is really cool because they'll do co-op.
Yeah, they start that in junior high. Actually, you can start that.
Where if you're like, hey, I would really love my kids to participate in language arts and math
at the school,
right? And I want to teach them history and science, like. That works too, and they still let the kids come in and play sports,
right?
As
which
well.
Is really cool. Because we're a small community. We don't have the co-ops in place to build a team or to build like things outside of that. We're not in a big city where you have enough homeschool kids to pull those things together in co-op.
Right.
So the school working with us.
I think if you live in a bigger town, you should just check with your school system. Because sometimes they'll totally work with you. They'll be like, oh, yeah, sure, I can come in and play basketball. Or, you know, it just depends.
You just have to see what's there. And a lot of times there are a lot of options, whether it's through a co-op or through the school district. I mean, I know like the Mesa County School District has a lot of things that homeschoolers can partner with.
Yep.
And so it's just a matter of figuring out like what the system is and how it works and which things. And sometimes they can take certain classes or they do like, you know, there are things in place, and then they also they're big enough that they also have some co-ops that do like ski school and different, you know, so you can kind of figure out what's in my area. Yep. And a lot of times there are a lot of things. We're probably one of the smallest, we're the most remote area in the 48, in the lower 48.
Yeah.
And so even we have access to some things that you might not expect. And so if you're even in a bigger area, you're going to have some things. It's just a matter of figuring out what they are and what you're interested in.
Yep. And then finding them.
Yeah. And finding them and just getting connected to those systems. For us, we're still figuring it out. Like a lot of people already have their curriculum. It's July, but you know what? If you don't have it, you're okay figuring it out. We did try a curriculum, and I'm not going to mention just because it's not about bashing that curriculum. It just wasn't the right fit for our family. So I don't want to like negatively impact. It works great for many, many families. It just wasn't the right one for us, but we did one. It was highly structured. And
hey, please stop.
It was too structured for our household.
Yeah.
And there was too much seat work involved. So it was just kind of like pulling teeth. And there were other things we wanted to do or wanted to pursue or wanted to like learn more about, but there wasn't time in the curriculum to do that. There wasn't enough flexibility. So, you know, in a setting that needs a lot of rigid structure to get through it, it's great. But for us, I've figured out we need something a little bit less, what I felt like was strenuous, but that's just because of my personality. So, so we're looking at some different options. My son wants to be as self-paced as he can be, because he's motivated. One, he's a good independent learner. He's disciplined, and he wants to get it done as early in the morning as possible. And he's an early riser, and I'm not. A bug. So he wants something that he could at least start or have portions that he could complete, even if there's portions we do together. And so we're looking at kind of some of the online options, and then also like some of the Sunlight or some of the, I was looking at Gather Round for maybe some of the things we're going to do together, and kind of thinking like, how can we make it meet individual needs in the family? And then we were like, well, maybe we'll do some stuff together. So we're just kind of sorting through it all. But all that to say, the biggest thing is like deciding and then jumping in if you're thinking about it. And it might mean some kids, like my two youngest, are probably going to be in school. So in public school. So it's deciding, like if you're kind of like ebb and flow, like not sure what to do, it may be that it's some of the kids need to just go to school.
Yeah.
And some, it doesn't have to be a one and done.
Yep.
So that's something that's kind of cool too, is there's that flexibility in being able to meet each kid's needs individually.
Yep.
And kind of go from there. And I think then there's lots of great curriculums.
Mm-hmm. There's more and more that keep popping up because it's a
well, and like Becca said, most of them do cover the basics. Like there are, you do want to look at your state and see if there's specific requirements, what those are, because some states are a little more, like Colorado is a little more particular about some of the things than some of the states. Some of the states are a little more.
For them, it's I've actually heard that's like more for some other states even.
There are, so I think Colorado's kind of in the middle as far as like what they expect.
Colorado is like you just do a letter of intent and then be like, I plan on schooling for this many days and this many hours per day. And initially it was like, how are we going to keep track of all of this? And then it occurred to me, I was like, well, even throughout the summer, whenever we do different activities that are educational, that counts. Right. So I'm like, oh, we're totally covered. Like ski team. Yeah. That's PE. That counts. Like there's just so many different things. Like whenever we do stuff for 4-H, it's educational. That counts. So
science and also like, survival or like not survival.
Survival skills. Survival okay, guys. Pack your bag up and go up the mountain for 24 hours. See you later.
But I mean, you guys have like sheep, you have chickens, you have horses. Right. I mean, there's a lot of like things that are skills that are built in there that also require math, also require planning ahead, also require, and so you can kind of capitalize on some of the things you're already doing. Maybe you write a paper about how to care for the horses or how to care for it, right? And so you can kind of say like, we're doing this, but we're gonna capitalize on the opportunity to like also expand a little bit to cover some of the educational pieces, which is nice. So as far as how you decide, I think it's individual, but I think also for us, we let our kids have a voice in whether they want to when they get to junior high and have good, intelligent conversations about what that means. And
even talking with other moms. And family, obviously husband, wives, you should be in agreement. Might be helpful. But I do think it's helpful just to even dialogue with people about it because they sometimes might have a different perspective than
and some good input. So, but we are over, but that's probably because we were doing really good the first time around. And then we were like, oh shoot, we have no sound. So, so there was a little bit of a I don't know, trying to jump in again, but thank you for bearing with us.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
If you've listened or watched, And where can you find Becca? Where can we find you?
Becca Maria EO.
Maria.
Yes,
Maria EO.
EOs. Yep.
EOs with a plural. EOs.
One of them is with a plural. One of them you'll find me.
Okay, find her on the things.
That's Facebook, also, Instagram.
At Jackie Cambish. And we're on Hot Mess Mountain Mamas or Becca and Jackie Mountain Mamas on YouTube.
Yep. That's where you can find
us. Or come to the Wednesday market. I was very dramatic about that.
It's like, but it's true. It's so fun. When people pop in and they're like, we watch you. And we're like, you do?
It's really fun.
So thank you to those of you that subscribe and watch and participate.
Exactly.
Give us your homeschool tips if you got any.
That's right. Yeah. And
I'd love to know.
We would.
All right.
Bye.
That's it. Bye.